Is that it?
Aye, that would be the Eyrie. I feel Nidhogg's presence through the eye, his caustic hatred gnawing at my soul. 'Twould seem the death of his consort has put him on guard. Mark how he wards his lair with tempestuous winds.
A similar barrier once barred our entrance to the Primal Garuda's domain, until we discovered the means by which it could be penetrated. Mayhap it is time we called upon Master Garland. 'Twill be just like the good old days, no?
your eyes upon our latest and greatest feat of engineering. We call it a mana cutter.
After you put down Gaius, Wedge and me struck out on our own for a bit, and started work on the successor to the tiny Bronco.
Impressive little thing, isn't she? My talent for ship design has plainly rubbed off on them. They've adapted the principles of corrupted crystal technology and constructed a mechanism which converts ether from its surroundings into elemental wind. Said wind is then harnessed by the specially engineered sails, providing the craft with propulsion and lift. All in all, a most elegant solution. I'm actually a little upset that I didn't think of it myself.
The design does, however, come with one small flaw.
The energy conversion ratio is bloody awful. To generate enough power to get you off the ground, you need to be in an area awash with predominantly wind-aspected ether.
In other words, there are a few places you can fly, lots of places you can't.
The new Ishgardian airship hasn't left the boys much time for tinkering, meaning it may be a while before this particular project takes off. If you'll forgive the pun.
Tataru, what's happened?
I've been looking all over for you. There's been word from Aldar. It's about Her Grace, the Sultana.
It seems you're required elsewhere. Leave the mana cutter with us. We'll see that she's airworthy and suitably equipped to slice through those winds. You, meanwhile, should concentrate on providing Raoban and the Sultana whatever help they need.
Thank you for coming.
No thanks are necessary, General. I trust your recuperation continues apace.
I cannot complain. Thanks to Higiri and her ministrations, I've regained much of the strength I lost during my imprisonment.
I gather you have made progress in the search for Her Grace.
Aye, some good fortune at last. A few days past, Dulala informed us that a sizable shipment of alchemical supplies had been delivered to the palace.
With Papa Shan's assistance, I set out to ascertain the source and nature of the shipment. My inquiries led me to Frondale's frontistery. There, I learned that an order had been placed for a curious substance designed to sustain patients trapped in death-like slumber. An invention of the former head alchemist, apparently.
A death-like slumber? This cannot be a coincidence.
It lends some weight to Dulala's claims, aye. Her Grace is likely somewhere within the palace, abed but alive.
Before making any attempt to extricate the Sultana, however, it seemed prudent to learn what manner of substance was used to induce her torpor. To that end, I made inquiries as to the whereabouts of the one most like to have administered it. The lady-in-waiting, Meriel. We sent for you as soon as we learned of her location. All that remains is to apprehend the woman.
We shall find our cat's paw in the Silver Bazaar. But we must tread carefully. The market is not the bustling place it once was, and someone is sure to mark our coming. Should they inform the monetarists, we'll have a fight on our hands. We must be prepared for the worst, and being short an arm, I thought it wise to take another in its stead. What say you, Warrior of Light? Will you lend me yours? Then I pity the bastard that stands in our way. Come, my friends, for Nanamo and for Ul'dah!
You are Meriel, the Sultana's former lady-in-waiting?
I know no one of that name. Pray excuse me. General Alden!
We will have the truth from you, girl.
Mayhap it would be better coming from me.
Lonorito, you'd best talk fast.
As you know, Teleji Adeleji's Cartano reclamation bill was no more than a facade. A means to get his grubby little hands on that Allagan monstrosity Omega. When he learned of Nanamo's intention to abdicate, however, he was forced to amend his plans. Suddenly, assassination seemed the most promising way to further his ambitions. I am told Teleji had discovered a maid in whose veins ran the blood of House Thorn, a new, more pliable puppet to sit the throne. 'Twould have caused an uproar, of course, but few could have contested her claim. 'Twas plain that Teleji's wild machinations had outgrown our ability to control them. So I decided to usurp his scheme and left the fool to seal his own demise.
And what of Nanamo?
Oh, I have no desire to harm her grace. 'Twould profit me little to destabilize our government. Thus did I employ young Meriel here to administer a potent sleeping potion in place of a poison. You should know, General, that your dear friend Ilberd was fully aware of my plan. I had him lie about the assassination as a means to prime your rage against Teleji. We weren't entirely sure how you would react, but things went rather better than expected.
You conniving little worm! You had your claws in the Crystal Braves before their first recruit had sworn to serve!
But of course, when a new game begins, 'tis only prudent to have a piece on the board. Ilberd was mine. Truth be told, a significant proportion of the Braves' initial endowment was also mine. With such large sums moving about, 'twas a rather trifling matter to disguise my own contribution. Ah, Ilberd. I secured his services with a promise to support his cause once my authority had been solidified. I swear, the man thinks of naught but prizing Alamigo from the grasp of the Empire. Unlike you, General, the poor fellow seems quite unable to forsake the land of his forefathers. Mayhap that's why he called you a traitor to your people and a disgrace to your homeland, amongst other things. What was it he always compared you to? Oh, yes, an overgrown lapdog begging for scraps at the Sultana's table. Oh, how we laughed. Alas, Ilbert's entertaining little outbursts eventually gave way to wearisome tirades, and the zealous brute became rather unruly. I had no wish to see you executed, you understand, but he would not take no for an answer. Rest assured, his employment with me has long since ended. Which brings us neatly to the present. What say you, General? Both you and the Sultana are alive. We have one corpse and one fugitive. And preparations have been made to restore your good name. Shall we cry quits and start again with a blank ledger?
The hells we will! Do you honestly expect me to forgive and forget? After all you've done? You're guilty of high treason!
Stay your blade, Master Alden. You yourself are not innocent. Or have you forgotten your own crime in executing Teleji Adeleji without trial? Though you acted out of loyalty to the Sultana, such deeds are in violation of both the word and spirit of the law. If you would, Lord Lolorito?
This potion will wake the Sultana from her slumber. Consider it a gesture of conciliation. You will find her grace resting comfortably within her private chambers. Should you doubt my word, I shall willingly accompany you to the palace as your hostage.
I like not your motives, Lolorito. But you saved the Sultana's life, and for that, you have my gratitude.
Rauban Aldin, you are hereby reinstated as General of the Immortal Flames. The citizens of Ul'dah shall once more be united under Nanamo Ul'Namo, and together we shall usher in a new age of prosperity.
having the longest dream.
"'Tis time to wake up, Your Grace. Another day begins in Thanalan, and the sun blazes bright upon the sands. Her Grace is awoken. The palace physician assures me she's none the worse for her slumber. I believe Her Grace will soon resume her plans to place the government of Uldar into the hands of its citizens. Whatever path she chooses to take, I shall walk it with her. And we shall tread slowly, lest the nation be unsettled in our wake.
Her Grace's compassion is a shining beacon to us all. But what our city truly thrives upon is competition. 'Tis in the struggle against our rivals that opportunities are seized and fortunes made. And with the Empire on the offensive once more, now would hardly seem the time to turn our system of government upon its head.
Are you privy to new intelligence, my lord?
I would hardly call it new. Remind me, what was the name of that enormous Imperial warship which met its end in Mordona? Wait, I have it. The Agrias. Yes, well, 'twould appear that the Garleans have been hard at work on another such vessel.
How close are they to completing this ship? Is it operational?
Its maiden flight was a success, I hear. I should imagine Emperor Varys is eager to see how it performs in battle. My lords and lady, I move that it is time to repair the damage caused by Teleji Adeleji and prepare our great nation to repel the Empire once more.
"'Tis well that the Sultana has awoken. The Syndicate yet needs to put its house in order, but 'twould seem the worst of the confusion has passed. Uldar has taken control of its future, and I must do the same. I have decided to disband the Crystal Braves. Among the recruits, there were those who supported our Order's goals and convictions with all sincerity. 'Tis my hope that these loyal men and women will choose to remain our allies in the battles to come. As for those who sided with the traitor, Ilberd, they shall be hunted down and held to account for their crimes. It is my earnest hope that they will surrender themselves peaceably when the time comes, though I think it unlikely. Ah, my all-conquering Crystal Braves. The model army meant to pave the way for a single unified Grand Company of Eorzea. That so high an ideal should be brought so low. I need not tell you how deeply the betrayal stung me. Yet I see now that it was mine own naivety and pride which allowed the Braves to fall prey to corruption. As ever, it is to your own shining example that I turn for inspiration. Like you, I mean to stand firm in the face of hardship and give mine all for the cause. Let us resume the search for our missing comrades, that we might come together to shine the light of dawn across the realm once more. The role of Crystal Brave Commander suited me ill, and I shall play it no longer. Henceforth, I shall be no more or less than Alphino, proud member of the Scions.
All stands ready, Lord Commander.
The moment has come then.
Pray excuse my lateness. I paid a brief visit to the workshop to inquire about the mana cutters. The engineers assure me that they're ready.
The area is now but a short flight away. Yet what a long and winding path we took to reach this point. Were it not for Master Alphino's proposal, we never would have attempted to parley with the dragons. Though our negotiations yielded little, our expedition with Lady Isar taught us much.
You took an unimaginable risk. I could scarce believe the tale Estinian told.
Aye. 'Tis true that many of our countrymen would sooner die than join hands with the heretic's mistress. But 'twas through that most unlikely of alliances that we came to speak with Hraesvelgr.
A conversation that went rather poorly, as I recall.
In this instance, the journey was more important than the destination. Had we not slain Nidhogg's consort, Tiaman, and put the Great Worm on his guard, the Dravanians would have arrived at Ishgard's walls long ago.
Aye, that they would. Full grateful am I for every hour of respite your actions have afforded us. Thanks to you, our defenses are much improved. 'Tis but a pity they won't be enough.
Thus you believe an assault upon the area represents the city's best chance of survival. Is that not so, Estinian?
I am under no illusions. Nidhogg's might is legendary. But with his eye in my possession, I can stifle his strength at the source. Victory will be hard won, even so. And I shall be glad indeed to have the Warrior of Light at my side.
You shall have my blade as well. There are more of these mana cutters to be had, yes?
Lord Commander, no!
How can I, a proud knight of Ishgard, stand by and do naught while an outsider risks life and limb for our homeland? I swore an oath to protect this city.
Pray leave the slaying of dragons to dragoons, Sir Knight. Your duty to command the city's defense is no less vital. Should we fail, and Nidhogg slip through our grasp, who then will hold the walls against him? Will you leave Ishgard in the hands of the Holy Sea's zealots?
There are others.
Who but you has the authority and the standing to orchestrate a city-wide defense? I do not, and neither does the Warrior of Light. That is why it is our place to fight, and yours to remain here, Lord Commander. What? You too, Master Alphino? By the Fury! You have shown some promise, but this adversary is far beyond your skills.
Your candor is appreciated, Sir Dragoon. I shall remain then and cheer you from afar.
Well, my friend, would seem I have discouraged the last of the volunteers, and claimed the task as ours alone. But if any alive can best this worm, 'tis surely we too. I will end your struggles!
folly.
Know your folly. No, worm! This ends here! You gifted my people 1,000 years of suffering! Now I gift you an eternity in darkness.
They are ours, Lord Eldrath. The eyes of Nidhogg.
Aye. The worm lies broken and my father is avenged. With the wellspring of his vitality thus denied him, Nidhogg shall not linger long in this world. But behold the terrible price we have paid. My sire is dead. So many brother knights slain. We traded our honor for the strength which now courses in our veins. And still we are forced to make such sacrifice.
But not in vain, my lord. Hraesvelgr is the only great worm left in Dravania, and he dares not leave his lair. With Nidhogg's eyes in your possession, who now can challenge the might of Ishgard, ascend the throne, and take your rightful place as the ruler of our people?
Nay, my friend. I must forsake the mantle of king. Though Nidhogg be defeated, his wormling horde yet darkens the skies with wings beyond counting. As one who partook of Ratatoska's strength, it shall be my penance to bear a knight's arms until death grants me leave to retire. When that day comes,
No prince shall perish, but a hell's-bound hunter of dragons.
But Lord Haldreth, what then shall become of the royal line?
Think of your people, my lord. Without a king, who will the common man turn to in his hour of need? How will he find his way without your benevolent hand to guide him?
I thank you, Sir Flavian and Sir Silvertrill, for dispelling my remaining doubts. With men of such wisdom and compassion in service to the realm, 'tis plain that Ishgard has no need of a king. But if you must bow to the demands of tradition, you need look no further than yourselves for one worthy to wear the crown. Fare thee well, my brother knights, my loyal friends. On these shoulders shall I bear the weight of my father's sins. With this lance shall I repay the debt accrued through our misdeeds.
What cruel jest has fate played upon us? Have we seized this desperate victory only to lose a king?
We can but act as our lord has bid. We few who remain must divide between us the rulership of Ishgard and her people.
Not I. My oath was to Lord Haldreth, and he alone. If he is not to be king, then I would hang up my shield as well.
Will you abandon us too, sir?
I would wash my hands of blood and betrayal, and take up an honest trade. Mayhap I shall serve ale instead of sharpened steel.
We four, then.
Forton, Heilenat, Dyrender, and Zemail. But 4 houses to rule all of Ishgard.
And what of the throne?
We keep it empty. Until the day a king rises once more, we must assume the role of stewards. We shall shape our nation anew with a history of our own making, and let the truth of this dark day die here, upon the battlefield.
What ails you, friend? Are you wounded? You have borne witness to history. To the culmination of the first battle with Nidhogg. The legend of Ishgard's founding tells that our ancestors were led to the land of Kurthus by the valiant King Thordan. In the midst of their journey, they came to a wide chasm, where they were set upon by a great worm, Nidhogg. A furious battle then ensued, with Thordan leading the van. Though the brave king was slain defending his people, his son, Haldreth, the first Azure Dragoon, fought on undaunted. And with a mighty thrust of his lance, he gouged out Nidhogg's eye, forcing the wicked creature into retreat. Thus, did this eldritch orb become a sacred treasure of Ishgard, lending its power to every knight deemed worthy to bear the title of Azure Dragoon. A rousing tale, is it not? Would that I could still believe it. But your vision, which we must accept as immutable truth, leaves no room for doubt, save on one point. If Huldreth took both of Nidhogg's eyes, then how came this eye to be lodged in the worm's skull? Beneath every answer we unearth, another question lies buried. 'Twas a fierce battle, but one I knew we would win. Your fame is well deserved, Warrior of Light. Full proud am I to have fought at your side. I would fain return with all swiftness to Ishgard to inform the Lord Commander of our triumph. But we must first have words with Hraesvelgr. There are parts of this tale that the worm has kept from us, and I would know wherefore. You mean the moment I prized your eye from his head?
It was yours. Your strength that sustained Nidhogg all these years.
Would Would that Haldreth had dealt the worm a killing blow.
Kom an I fåren King has morgon. Nå ska han strå av an Ostjas alarm.
And so you acquiesced. You surrendered your eye to Nidhogg, knowing full well the suffering he would inflict.
This one som ankin in Ela. Ratan ine. Esklos miseg a. Liz esk gaan. I'm fire. Call home on. Tolos Inescula.